Hi everyone, this is Paul here from the Magazine Centre. Today I'm doing astrology report for the week commencing 20th of February, by outlining some key aspects and transits taking place and giving an overview of what it all means. Before I do that, I just want to clarify, as I always do, that astrology doesn't control our lives. What it does is it gives us a framework to help us understand what's unfolding around us. It gives us context as to what the energies around us are doing, what kind of opportunities for growth they present, and areas of reflection. And it also shows us the kind of direction that we need to be moving in order to maximise our own personal growth. But for anything to actually change, we have to take action in our lives, and we also have to take responsibility for our lives, because without responsibility we can't liberate ourselves. So it requires that we do take responsibility for every facet of our lives in order to become empowered in that respect. Now, in terms of the aspects this week, I'll begin with the moon's transit as usual. So initially she's in Virgo, and we'll still be feeling a lot of the energy from the full moon in Virgo from Tuesday. But the moon in Virgo is all about dealing with the nuts and bolts of life. It's about focusing on the tasks done on a daily basis that will facilitate greater growth or help to bring greater order into our environment, which makes it easier to get other projects done. On Thursday she'll enter Libra, so this is the time for that building of bridges between one another. It's that social kind of energy that may give us that desire to focus on our one-to-one relationships with people, and it's about fostering that spirit of harmony, which makes it easier to then deal with any tougher subjects which may arise when the moon enters Scorpio on Saturday, because moon in Scorpio is more about dealing with the undercurrents. It's about looking at our deeper motivations for doing things. It's facing the deeper emotions, especially the heavier ones that we need to let go of in order to heal. And it's also becoming aware of any power plays that we need to let go of in our one-to-one dynamics. Before on Monday, the moon will enter Sagittarius, and this will be a time where you may feel that desire to kind of explore other philosophies, to engage in some kind of travel or anything to expand the mind or deepen our spiritual awareness or spiritual knowledge. Now, in terms of the other aspects this week, Mercury is the prime drive this week, the most involved. So as a result, the intellect will be a key theme or key areas of focus this week. And for starters, Mercury's going to be in the shadow period. So Mercury's going to be retrograde in March. We're in that pre-retrograde shadow this week. So this is a time to really focus on trying to slow down as much as possible, because Mercury retrograde is about bringing awareness to things, and things ruled by Mercury, like communication, like short distance travel, like any kind of paperwork or anything business related or any contracts can start. It may seem like it starts to glitch. So anything like that that falls under Mercury's domain, it's just all it's really doing is it's prompting us to try and slow down and to be prepared for when the Mercury retrograde itself hits, when we need to be focusing more on awareness rather than attention on what's right in front of us. So this week it's time to start slowing down proactively rather than waiting for the retrograde to hit us full force, where we experience that chaos of things going wrong. If we start to slow down like the energies are doing, we go with it rather than fighting against it, and we tend to find that the retrograde period runs smoother as a result. But Mercury's obviously in Pisces at this time, so it's not the natural domain of Mercury to begin with. It's a much more intuitive and right-brained, as opposed to Mercury's natural left-brain tendencies or left-brain functions of logic and reason and thinking. So this week, one of the things we need to do is start slowing down. But we have aspects to Mercury that may help us with some of this. So the first one being that Mercury's going to be sextile Saturn on Wednesday itself. So Saturn brings in that energy of order and discipline. It brings us an opportunity to bring a more practical or disciplined focus to our thinking. So it's removing any unnecessary thoughts or any excessive thinking or any distracting thinking patterns that prevent us from dealing what is important, and it's using that discipline and that focus to remove the thoughts that create distractions and focus on the areas of communication or the areas that are most important. So it's disciplining the mind so it's not wandering all over the place. It becomes centered and focused on what matters, whilst letting slide anything that isn't actually that important. So it's developing that mental discipline needed in order to focus on core goals that are important and require discipline in order to achieve. We also have a square to Jupiter on this will be on Friday, so this is a time where Jupiter is the natural opposite to Mercury when you consider the normal Gemini Sagittarius axis. So Jupiter's the more potent energy here. It's about that balance between that microcosm and macrocosm. Jupiter's the broad strokes, Mercury the fine brush strokes. But one thing we need to be mindful here is that we don't miss or struggle to see the forest for the trees sort of mentality. So it's about bringing the two areas into balance, seeing the broad strokes, but also recognizing that the small details of the microcosm is a reflection of that macrocosm. So the two need to work together rather than at odds with one another. But Jupiter's broad strokes will be the guiding focus here, so we need to make sure that Jupiter himself is operating through with a desire for wisdom and understanding, and not just desire to expand the ego or adapt our words or adapt thinking to our own personal gain. So it's bringing that the lower mind or the intellect into alignment with an wider understanding and that broad-minded perspective, so that we avoid narrow-mindedness, avoid bigotry, avoid judgmentalism. So it's about expanding the intellect in order to allow the thinking side of our mind to mentally perceive the broader picture as opposed to just intuitively sensing it. We also have on Saturday the moon is going to be sextile to Pluto, so this aspect gives us an opportunity to transform the mind through recognizing where we have obsessive thought patterns that are constantly going around like a broken record. It's also looking at the way we communicate and recognizing where our choice of words could be harmful rather than helpful. Because Mercury is all about, it's not just our thinking, our perception, it's also communication. So with this sextile to Pluto, it asks us to become more mindful of the choice of words we make when we're communicating something. Because as important as it is to tell the truth, it's also important to make sure that the truth is softened through love. So it's not saying anything to avoid hurting people, because comforting lies are not helpful at all, but it's speaking the truth in a way that's more palatable for other people. It's being honest and being kind at the same time. So it's kindness in our speech and and loving in our speech. And it's also looking at our internal what's our typical inner thinking about ourselves and about the world around us. And if we have obsessive thinking which is toxic or negative, then we have to heal that and let go of it. We need to let go of any old obsessive thinking that clouds our perceptions and allow more empowered versions based on having control of our inner mental responses to outer situations. On the same day, we have Venus will be conjunct Pluto, so this brings the values and relationship function of the collective and conscious into focus and a need to transform it. So this is a bit like Venus-Pluto equivalent of a new moon. It's a new cycle for them, which unfolds over a year. So Venus conjunct Pluto is an opportunity for us to transform the nature of the relationship dynamics we have. There's also an opportunity to transform old value systems which we may have adopted from the society we inherited, but they don't actually resonate with who we are. We've just adopted them subconsciously in order to fit in. But maybe our true values are much more like, maybe we really value truth or we value empowerment. But if we want to empower ourselves, we have to be willing to let go of the old values. We also need to let go of any tendency to lie within our relationships, because for any relationship to last and long run, it needs to have a foundation of love, truth, and fidelity, as it were. So Venus conjunct Pluto is an opportunity for us to reflect on these areas. Are we honest in our interpersonal relationships, whether they be with a partner, whether they be business relationships, friendships, any kind of dynamics between two people on a one-on-one basis? It's about stripping away any falsehoods within those relationships and seeking an underlying foundation of truth and authenticity, and making sure both parties feel able to be who they are in that relationship, and not just having to put on a front or wear masks in order for that relationship to survive. It's about stripping away the superficial levels in order to allow deeper connections to be formed based on being honest and truthful about who we are, and allowing the other person to show who they are, rather than expecting them to conform to our projections. So it's taking away the projections from our relationships and seeking to see the other person as they are, not who we want them to be. And it's allowing authenticity to be the model for our relationships. So I hope that's a useful guide for the week ahead. As I said, Mercury will be the key player, as he's involved in 3 of the 4 key aspects this week, and is also going through his shadow period now. So the intellect will be the main focus this week, but relationships will also be under the spotlight thanks to the Venus-Pluto dynamic. So if we're willing to transform our minds, because it's the old adage, be transformed through the renewing of your mind. So there's the renewal through incorporating greater self-discipline, there's renewal through allowing greater understanding of the macrocosm to guide our intellect and guide our thinking, and there's the transformation through shedding old obsessive thought patterns and old shadow tendencies, and becoming more loving and honest in our communication with people, and seeking to speak the truth and seek the truth mentally, no matter the cost, but making sure that love is the foundation of our speech, and truth is the foundation of our perception. So may this week bring you many new insights and much illumination. Take care and be blessed.